Hello everyone, welcome back to ASR, African Stories Realized. This is our review of Netflix's South African series, The Polygamist Season 1. Based on the 2012 novel by Zimbabwean author Sue Nyathi and produced by Stainless Glass Productions, The Polygamist explores the complex world of modern polygamy through the rich and powerful Jonasi Gomora and his multiple wives. I'll recap all 22 episodes mixed in with a bit of analysis, but you can find the full season breakdown at the end of the recap. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. Episode 1 picks up with Jonasi's funeral as we're introduced to his first wife, Joyce. The show then flashes back 5 years, where we see Joyce reminding her cheating husband Jonasi that she was planning a 20th wedding anniversary celebration for them, as she handed him and his mistress an invite. Shortly after, Jonasi sent Joyce divorce papers, which led to him confronting her at his office. However, Jonasi was determined to follow through with the divorce as he ordered security to remove Joyce from the building. Meanwhile, Joyce and Jonasi's kids, Menzi and Mpume, went on a night out with their cousin Sarah and her brother Freedom. While at the club, started a fight with a man who was harassing Mpume's friend, his crush Lindani, on the dance floor. A riot then broke out in the club, with the kids ultimately being kicked out. Back at the Gomora home, Joyce received word that Jonasi was planning a vacation with his mistress. She went over to their place to confront him once again, but while they were upstairs taking a bath, she accidentally started a fire after trying to burn their passports and plane tickets. The episode ends with Joyce fleeing the house as it catches on fire. Episode 2 picks up with Jonasi's mistress, Matipa, as it's revealed that she was initially dating Jonasi's brother, Magesh, and had recently been hired by J&J, Jonasi's company. Matipa wasted no time introducing herself to Jonasi, despite the receptionist's best efforts to keep her away from him. She flirted with the CEO in the office, leaving a file and a lasting impression. Next time they saw each other was before an event at work, where Jonasi had to abruptly leave for the birth of his second son. He left to meet his newborn son, but couldn't stop thinking about Matipa, who had passed him a note earlier like a lovesick schoolgirl. He returned to J&J and asked to see Matipa in his office, where the two started making out. Matipa then revealed that she was dating Jonasi's brother, but he didn't seem to care and instructed her to dump him so they can be together. It wasn't long before she was promoted at work, but word of her affair with the CEO had spread, with even Magesh confronting her about it. Jonasi and Matipa then celebrated her new appointment together, while Joyce, who was waiting at home, received a text from Jonasi that he would be home late. When he got home, Joyce found lipstick on his shirt and immediately suspected that he was cheating. Joyce was determined to find out who the other woman was. She went to J&J and interrogated Jonasi's receptionist, who revealed that Matipa was the other woman. Coincidentally, while visiting the salon, Joyce had an encounter with Matipa, attacking her husband's mistress after she overheard her gossiping about her. Back at home, Jonasi confronted Joyce for attacking Matipa. However, Joyce demanded that Jonasi break up with his mistress, but Joe threatened to kick her out before deciding to leave himself, despite Joyce's desperate pleas. A few months later, Joyce took the kids to Jonasi and Matipa's, where she left them for the weekend, but Matipa was unfazed and suggested they get a bigger place to accommodate the kids, and Jonasi wasted no time buying a new house for his mistress. The episode then connects to the first one as we see Joyce dropping off the invite for their anniversary, as it's revealed that Matipa indeed encouraged Jonasi to file for divorce, insisting that she wanted him all to herself. We then fast forward to the end of the first episode, with Jonasi and Matipa's house catching on fire as Joyce makes her escape. The episode ends with the police arriving at Joyce's place and arresting her in front of her home. Episode 3 picks up with Joyce in jail, trapped with an oversharing cellmate. She began to regret her action just hours away from her big anniversary celebration. Meanwhile, Jonasi confronted Matipa for reporting Joyce, with his kids arriving shortly after, questioning why their mother was still locked up, but Jonasi assured them that he would take care of it. Shortly after, Joyce was bailed out by Jonasi, who drove her home before ordering her to sign the divorce papers and prepare a joint statement. Joyce agreed, but only under the condition that they went ahead with their 20th anniversary celebration. The celebration commenced with everyone waiting for Jonasi. However, Matipa arrived first, disrespecting the dress code and suggesting that Jonasi wouldn't attend. However, Jonasi suddenly arrived, planting a big kiss on Joyce as Matipa watched on in confusion. It was then revealed that Joyce has friends in high places, and that Jonasi only attended because she had put his tender with the minister in jeopardy after talking to his wife. A love fest then followed as the couple renewed their vows, and beautiful speeches followed as they celebrated with their guest with a helpless Matipa watching on. A coordinated confrontation from the aunties followed, with Joyce's mother and the minister's wife confronting Jonasi's mistress at the reception. The minister and his wife then reiterated their support for Jonasi and Joyce as a couple. I don't know how Joyce did it, but I was impressed with the execution here. Matipa then confronted Jonasi, questioning if Joyce was going to sign the divorce papers, but Jonasi was totally turned off before going to Joyce's place, where he watched her sign the divorce papers. However, the episode ends with the couple making out after Jonasi admitted that he missed Joyce. Episode 4 picks up the following morning in the Gomora home after Jonasi and Joyce spent the night together. Joyce began to regret it after their daughter Mpume walked in on the couple while they were in bed together, stating that she didn't want to confuse the kids, but Jonasi assured her that he was back for good. Mpume reported to the rest of the family that her father had returned, but she couldn't stand being around him as she warned Menzi that he would abandon them again. Jonasi then went golfing with his brother Magesh, where he was confronted by Matipa, who questioned where he spent the night, but Jonasi simply ignored her. Meanwhile, Joyce went to Magesh's wife, Essie, for some advice on how to deal with an unfaithful husband, but Essie insisted that men will be men and advised her to go home and be a good wife. She returned to the Gomora home, where her and Jonasi once again spent the night together. The following day, Jonasi suggested they have a family bride, which was rudely interrupted by Matipa, who demanded to see him, but both Joyce and Magesh stood in her way as they ordered her to leave. The following day, Matipa gave Joyce a call and told her not to get too comfortable, revealing that Jonasi called her, making Joyce paranoid about her husband working with Matipa. Joyce's mother advised her to open an offshore account and start saving money in case Jonasi leaves her again. And it wasn't until now I realized that J&J stands for Jonasi and Joyce. She then went to J&J, insisting that she wasn't comfortable with Jonasi and Matipa working together. Matipa was then summoned to Jonasi's office, where Joyce informed her husband's mistress that she was being fired. Matipa didn't take it well, as she threatened legal action on her way out. The episode ends with Matipa back at home, breaking down after losing Jonasi and her job. Episode 5 picks up at J&J with a tense negotiation between Magesh and Matipa, who was seeking millions in compensation. She questioned where Jonasi was, and Gesh informed her that he was on a vacation with his wife, as it's revealed that the married couple were rekindling their romance in Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe, the same place I assumed Jonasi was going to take Matipa before their house caught on fire. I also think that it's a way of honoring the original book, the author, and where she's from. Meanwhile, back at the Gomora home, Mpume's friend, Lindani, convinced the siblings to throw a party while the parents were away. Matipa then decided that she would make Jonasi jealous by finding someone richer and more powerful, and that person would turn out to be the minister who gave Jonasi a tender earlier. I actually caught him checking out Matipa at the anniversary party. Meanwhile, Essie's daughter, Sarah, who was denied a new iPhone earlier, took the opportunity to steal her cousin Mpume's phone. The party then came to an abrupt end when Jonasi and Joyce returned home to a house full of loud music and drunk teenagers. They cut the music and kicked the teens out, leaving Menzi, Mpume, her friend Leanda, Sarah, and her brother Freedom. They berated the kids for disobeying them, but Freedom wasn't trying to hear it as he left with Sarah. The remaining kids were ordered to clean up the house. The following day, Mpume noticed that her phone was missing, and after tracking it, it led her to Essie's place, where she made a miscalculation, accusing Sarah's brother, Freedom, of stealing the phone, before Sarah kicked her out, raising suspicion with her brother and mother. Joyce and Jonasi then went out for dinner, where Jonasi spotted Matipa and the minister on a date. He confronted Matipa, questioning if they were sleeping together, before going home to bully his kids. He interrogated Menzi about the party they threw, ultimately strangling his son as Joyce and Mpume tried to stop him. The episode ends with Jonasi storming out while a tearful Joyce and Mpume consoled Menzi. Episode 6 picks up with a family lunch at the Gomora home, with Magesh, Sarah, and Freedom in attendance. Mpume shared her plans for varsity, while Sarah revealed that she wanted a coming-of-age ceremony, but Magesh insisted that they would discuss it with her mother first. After the family lunch, Jonasi confronted his son for not going to school or having a job, whereas his sister was about to go to varsity. He ordered Menzi to start work at J&J immediately, and the following day, his uncle picked him up for his first day. It must have been a good first day, because after work, he went out for drinks with Freedom, who hyped him up and encouraged him to make a move on Lindani, who was literally at work waiting tables at the tavern. Menzi went up to Lindani and kissed her, but she didn't kiss him back, instead pushing him away and questioning what the hell he was doing. I think Menzi might actually be on the spectrum. Meanwhile, Joyce had a pregnancy scare, but was relieved when the test came back negative. However, to avoid it happening again, she decided to get her tubes tied. While at the hospital waiting to have a procedure, she changed her mind but began to panic after her mother reported that she saw Jonasi in the same hospital. The doctor then revealed to Joyce that there was another Gomora in the hospital who was giving birth. The episode ends with Joyce interrupting Jonasi and Matipa, who are celebrating the birth of their twins in the hospital room. Episode 7 picks up with Jonasi trying to explain himself, lying through his teeth about his relationship with Matipa and the birth of the twins. He apologized but was determined to see the twins, despite a desperate Joyce begging him not to go, even offering to let the twins stay with them in the Gomora home. Meanwhile, Matipa returned home with the newborn twins, where her mother also arrived, questioning where the father of her children was. At J&J, Jonasi boasted to his brother that Joyce would never leave him, but little did he know that his wife had something sinister planned, as she purchased a gun and instructed her mother to take the kids out so she could have a private conversation with Jonasi. Meanwhile, Lindani confronted Menzi for trying to kiss her, and he expressed his feelings for her, but despite admitting that she also liked him, Lindani just couldn't take him seriously. Jonasi later returned to a dark and empty home. The episode ends with him calling out for Joyce, who was lying in wait with a loaded weapon in her hand. Episode 8 picks up with Joyce losing her nerve and dropping the gun just as Jonasi opened the door to their room. Jonasi wrestled the weapon away from Joyce and questioned if she was trying to kill herself, before reassuring her that they'll fix things. He then ordered Magesh to dispose of the weapon. At Matipa's place, her mother questioned her about Jonasi and whether he planned to pay any damages. Joyce then paid Matipa a visit, even offering her money to start a new life, but Matipa insisted that she was in love with Jonasi. Joyce then returned home, where she called a meeting with Jonasi and his brother. She announced that she had made a decision to accept Matipa as a second wife, but she insisted that Jonasi be the one to break the news to their children. Magesh questioned if Joyce was thinking clearly, but she conceded that she was only out for self-preservation. Jonasi wasted no time delivering the proposal to Matipa, but she was not pleased with being a second wife. However, Jonasi insisted that him and Joyce would never divorce. An angry Matipa confronted Joyce over the phone, but was resigned to accepting the proposal despite her mother's objections. Lobola was paid and Matipa's family celebrated the new marriage. Well, everybody but Matipa's mother. After the wedding, the Gomora family sat down for dinner. However, they were joined by Matipa and her twins, with Joyce breaking the news to her kids that Matipa was their father's new wife and the twins were their siblings. I think Joyce did this because Jonasi failed to tell the kids like they had agreed. After the dinner, Joyce, Jonasi and Matipa discussed when they would announce the new marital arrangement, but the episode ends with Matipa storming out after Joyce laid down the law, insisting that Jonasi must spend every night in their home. Episode 9 picks up with an extravagant Ivory Oasis launch, with Joyce making an appearance as an ambassador and spokesperson for the company. During the launch, Matipa decided to announce their new marriage arrangement, causing a commotion at the event. At the Gomora home, Jonasi was becoming alienated from Joyce and the kids. He went to Matipa's place and confronted her for releasing the statement early, as the couple argued over her respect for Joyce as the first wife. After Jonasi left, his son Menzi paid Matipa a visit, where he bonded with his twin sisters, after which Matipa thanked him for giving her a break from her mommy duties. However, she continued clashing with Jonasi over the time he was spending with her and the twins. Meanwhile, Joyce was on a PR tour doing damage control following the news of Jonasi taking a second wife. But when she got home, the overwhelmed Joyce broke down, with her daughter comforting her. At Essie's place, her daughter Sarah was on a warpath as she continued to demand a coming-of-age ceremony, insisting that her father acknowledge her in front of everyone. Matipa then went to the Gomora home where she questioned where Jonasi was. Joyce revealed that she didn't know where he was either and had been looking for him, as the two wives became suspicious. Meanwhile, Jonasi had paid his brother's wife Essie a visit. She dished him up a plate of food, and the episode ends with the two getting intimate as Magesh arrives at the home. Episode 10 picks up with a revelation. While Essie and Jonasi were getting it on in the house, Magesh and Sarah met outside, but neither of them were surprised that Jonasi was there, with Magesh referring to his brother as Sarah's father. We then flash back over 30 years to a younger Jonasi and Essie who became close friends. Jonasi's womanizing ways were evident from a young age, and while they were initially just friends, one day they became intimate and started dating. However, he needed some money to go to varsity. Essie, who had been saving up some money from doing hair, gave him the cash to pursue his studies. 8 years passed before Essie saw Jonasi again in a newspaper announcing his marriage to Joyce. A few years later, when Freedom was just a toddler, Jonasi returned to the township, gifting Essie with a dream car and proposing to her, insisting that he'll make her his second wife and smooth things over with Joyce. Not long after the wedding, Essie got pregnant with Sarah, and while they were shopping for baby clothes, they bumped into Joyce, who was also pregnant with Mpume. Jonasi introduced Essie to Joyce as his brother's wife, after which Essie confronted Jonasi for not telling Joyce about her. Jonasi revealed that he chickened out of telling Joyce the truth before surprising Essie with a new home. The couple spent the night together, but the following morning Essie once again questioned when Jonasi was going to tell Joyce about her. However, Jonasi continued to buy time, even forcing Essie and his brother to join them for dinner at him and Joyce's more extravagant home. After Essie gave birth, she didn't see much of Jonasi, with Magesh regularly delivering envelopes of cash to her. We then return to present day, where Jonasi gifted his daughter Sarah a new iPhone, which she didn't need anymore because she had stolen her cousin's. She once again expressed her desire to have a coming-of-age ceremony, but Jonasi encouraged her to get a driving license, assuring her that a car would follow. The episode ends with Essie warning Jonasi that the promise of a car would not stop Sarah's desire to be publicly acknowledged by her father. Episode 11 picks up on Jonasi's birthday. Magesh arrived at the Gomora home to wish his brother a happy birthday. Matipa then FaceTimed Jonasi at work, wishing him a happy birthday and inviting him over for a birthday dinner and dessert, if you know what I mean. However, Jonasi revealed that he would be spending his birthday with Joyce like he did every year. Unbeknown to him, Joyce had cancelled his annual birthday dinner celebration, and after finding out that Joyce had no plans to celebrate with him on his birthday, he went over to Matipa's, but she was still struggling with the twins, so Jonasi got out of there as soon as he could and made his way to his other wife Essie's place. But Essie clearly wasn't expecting him because she was in bed with someone else. She quickly got dressed and met Jonasi downstairs. Fortunately, Essie's boy toy made a narrow escape just as the couple arrived in the room making out. Sarah and Freedom later joined them to celebrate Jonasi's birthday. However, Jonasi and Freedom almost came to blows after Freedom vandalized Jonasi's cake. Jonasi and Essie then went out for drinks and dancing at the local tavern. Upon returning to Essie's place, they found Sarah working on invitations for her coming-of-age ceremony. Jonasi completely lost it, making it clear to his daughter that she would never get a coming-of-age ceremony. Essie then got into an argument with her husband, accusing him of abandoning them, before Jonasi decided to leave and spend the night in a hotel. The episode ends with Jonasi losing his mind, unleashing an evil laugh as he eats cake off the floor. Yeah, this is when I realized we were dealing with a madman. Episode 12 picks up at the Gomora home, where the family's breakfast was interrupted by Matipa, who delivered invitations for the twins' christening or baptism. Joyce's daughter, Mpume, was not interested in attending, but Jonasi demanded that they all show support. And as the news reached Essie's home, her and Sarah were not happy with the twins getting special treatment. Meanwhile, at Matipa's place, she began to panic because the venue for the twins' christening cancelled the event after realizing they were double booked. Jonasi then suggested that they host the christening at the Gomora home. However, he didn't discuss it with Joyce, who only found out on the day of the event. She confronted Matipa, who insisted that she didn't know that Jonasi hadn't asked for Joyce's permission to host the event in her home. And this made me think that Matipa set this up on purpose. She probably didn't even book the venue in the first place, which is why they were already booked on the day. And when Jonasi offered to host the event at the Gomora home, Matipa was aware that he hadn't cleared it with Joyce first, so I think she was being a bit manipulative there. Meanwhile, Mpume revealed to Lindani and Sarah that she planned to sleep with her boyfriend and lose her virginity. Lindani showed support for a friend before suddenly getting sick and having to puke in the bathroom. The event commenced with Mpume bonding with her twin sisters and family pictures being taken, with even Joyce holding the twins in her arms. However, Sarah was not permitted to join in the family photos, so she decided to seduce Mpume's boyfriend, with Mpume completely losing it after catching them in the act. The commotion attracted a lot of attention, with Mpume's boyfriend getting beat up and kicked out before the disgraced Sarah was dragged out of the house by her mother. Before the commotion, Joyce, Matipa and Essie shared a glass of wine together as Joyce and Matipa became cordial for the first time. When they got home, Essie confronted Sarah about her recent behavior, with the two tussling before Sarah accidentally pushed her mother down the stairs. She called Joyce, who rushed to the hospital where Sarah blamed her for everything wrong in their lives. The episode ends with Joyce demanding the truth from Sarah. Episode 13 picks up at the hospital, where Magesh arrived to find out that Sarah had already spilled the beans and told Joyce everything. Joyce confronted Magesh before going home to report everything to her mother and kids. After being discharged, Essie went to the Gomora home and tried to explain herself, but the betrayal cut too deep for Joyce, who kicked Essie out of her home. The delusional Sarah then made her way to J&J in an attempt to start over with her father now that the truth was out. Despite her mother and uncle trying to discourage her, she was determined to see Jonasi, who at this point didn't even know that the truth was out. A confused Jonasi found Sarah in his office and promised to meet her for lunch. Upon returning home, Jonasi was confronted by Joyce and Matipa, who had now joined forces against their husband. Jonasi tried to apologize, but Joyce had already checked out, even resigning from her job and announcing to her followers that she'd be taking a break. Mpume then tried to confide in her father, but he completely ignored her. Meanwhile, his other daughter Sarah was waiting for him at a restaurant where he promised to meet him for lunch. Upon realizing that he had stood her up, Sarah broke down in tears and left. Meanwhile, Jonasi's son Menzi was on a date with a girl, but he wasn't feeling her and left her at the restaurant after Lindani posted a video of him kicking Mpume's boyfriend out of their home with the caption, "A real man." He immediately went to tell Freedom about it, who suggested that they go out for drinks and encouraged Menzi to invite Lindani to join them. While at the club, Menzi made a shocking discovery in one of the private rooms. The episode ends with him almost having a heart attack after he found Lindani on her knees having relations with his father, Jonasi. Episode 14 picks up with a flashback of how the affair between Lindani and Jonasi started. We're taken back to the day of the house party after the kids had been instructed to clean up the house. Jonasi caught Lindani trying to pour herself some alcohol and offered her something stronger. The two shared a drink while flirting, and it wasn't long before they were texting each other and meeting for dates at fancy restaurants. Jonasi's daughter, Mpume, then found out that Lindani was dating an older man, but she insisted that they were still in the talking stage. Jonasi then invited Lindani for a trip to Durban, which she accepted, but he made it clear that he wanted to sleep with her. Mpume dropped her off at the airport, but questioned if her friend was being taken advantage of. Upon arriving in Durban, Lindani initially played hard to get, but eventually the couple slept together. I'll save you guys the details, but it was definitely not safe for work. Needless to say, don't watch this around your kids and don't let your kids watch it. Upon returning from Durban, Lindani gloated to Mpume about her trip, but suddenly they were interrupted by her boyfriend, who snatched her phone, questioning where she had been all weekend, accusing her of cheating. Lindani insisted that she was with Mpume doing an assignment all weekend. However, she panicked when her boyfriend threatened to call her sugar daddy and knocked the phone out of his hands, breaking it completely. I think at that point she was more worried about her friend Mpume finding out that she was sleeping with her dad than her boyfriend finding out that she was cheating. We then get a callback to the day of the twins' christening when Lindani got sick and puked. It was then revealed that she was pregnant. Her boyfriend Golani questioned if the baby was his, which Lindani failed to give him assurance of. Golani broke up with her, revealing that he already knew that she had been cheating. A tearful Lindani then informed Jonasi that she was pregnant, but he consoled her and assured her that he would make sure that her and the baby were cared for. The episode ends in the club after Menzi discovered that his father was having an affair with the girl he's been crushing on all season. Episode 15 picks up with Lindane having a miscarriage. She made her way to the hospital where Mpume and her mother arrived to support her. Back at home, Joyce questioned who the father of Lindane's baby was, but Mpume insisted that she didn't know but suspected that he took advantage of her friend. Meanwhile, Menzi was moping around J&J and refused to follow instructions before returning home, where his mother got concerned and suggested that they take a little vacation. Meanwhile at J&J, Sarah confronted her father after he stood her up, but she was an afterthought for Jonasi, who berated her for acting like the world revolved around her. Sarah then returned home, where Essie did a lousy job at consoling her, which forced Freedom to stand up to his mother, accusing her of neglecting her children for men and money. It was definitely one of my favorite monologues of the season. Freedom was used as comedic relief for most of the show, which made this moment stand out so much more. Meanwhile, Jonasi bought Matipa a necklace, but she was still not happy with being the third wife behind Essie. Matipa then left for an appointment with a gynecologist, who revealed that she had contracted an STI. Just as Joyce and the kids were about to leave for their trip, Mpume found out that Lindane had been discharged. Menzi questioned why Lindane was hospitalized in the first place, and after finding out that she was pregnant and had a miscarriage, ends with them almost having a heart attack. They took him to get checked out at the hospital and shelved their trip before returning home. Joyce then made her way upstairs to her room, where unbeknown to her, Jonasi had brought Lindane home after she was discharged. Joyce caught them together in her bathroom and unleashed a beating on the couple with her belt. The commotion made it downstairs where Lindane fled, and the episode ends with Matipa barging into the Gomora home, questioning if Lindane was the reason she had an STI. Episode 16 picks up with the Gomora family fighting amongst themselves, with Jonasi beating up his wife and kids before the police showed up with Lindane and her mother, who had reported Joyce for assaulting her daughter. But even as they arrested Joyce and put her in the police car, all she could worry about was her health after Matipa revealed that Jonasi had infected her with an STI. I just want to stop there for a sec and acknowledge the disconnect between the end of episode 15 and the start of episode 16, because there was a minor time jump there which was a bit confusing. Maybe the script changed along the way and they didn't manage really to shoot new scenes which explained everything that happened in between there, because it would have made more sense maybe if Matipa arrived after the police came, right, and dropped the STI bomb. So when the episode started and Matipa's not there, Lindane is not there, and then they come with the police, it's just a lot of question as to when did they move from the confrontation at the end of episode 15 to the conflict that's happening in episode 16 with Lindane's mother coming through. After being released, Joyce immediately got herself tested, with the doctor revealing that she had also contracted an STI. This guy must be the family gynecologist, because I think he treated Matipa as well. Joyce discovered that Mpume had cut up some family photos, which Jonasi was not happy about, but evidently his wife and children didn't want him in the house anymore, with Joyce even asking for a divorce. However, Jonasi calmly refused, stating that only death would separate them. The following morning, the children were not happy to see that Jonasi was still around, despite Joyce assuring them that things would change. Joyce and Matipa then met up for a drink, both expressing their regret for the man they chose to marry. Joyce went back home, and while preparing dinner, she decided to poison Jonasi's food, which he ate without suspecting a thing. Mpume then packed her things and said goodbye to her mother as she decided to leave home early ahead of her first semester at Stellenbosch. Joyce then joined her two remaining children in their room. The episode ends with them dancing to some loud music while Jonasi succumbed to the effects of the poison downstairs. Episode 17 picks up at the hospital, where the doctor revealed to Joyce that her husband had survived the poisoning. To cover her tracks, Joyce paid the doctor to tell Jonasi that he had suffered a heart attack. He was soon discharged and brought home by Joyce, who gave him his medication and revealed to him that he had infected them with an STI. At Essie's place, it was also revealed that she had tested positive with an STI. I would speculate that he got it from Essie, who was the only one with a partner outside of the marriage. but that's also assuming that Lindani was faithful to her boyfriend before she started hooking up with Jonasi. They didn't really clarify where he could have got it. Meanwhile, Matipa, who was struggling to find a new job, received news that Jonasi had a heart attack. She immediately made her way to their banker and demanded that she transfer a large sum of money from her joint account with Jonasi. At first, the banker refused to transfer the funds without Jonasi's permission, but she ultimately agreed to make the transaction. I'm not really sure the common sense behind Matipa struggling to find a job. I'm sure they could have set her up with another job or something, or hired her back at J&J. It didn't really make too much sense, but I'm guessing then again, maybe Jonasi didn't want her to work. Jonasi paid her a visit shortly after, demanding his conjugal rights. Matipa refused before he forced himself on her. She tried to fight him off, but Jonasi hit her back and confronted her about the money she stole. The episode ends with Jonasi unleashing a brutal assault on his third wife. Episode 18 picks up at the Gomora house, where it's revealed that Joyce has visible injuries, which means that he assaulted both her and Matipa on the same day. She covered up her black eye with makeup before reluctantly joining Jonasi for breakfast. Meanwhile, Magesh was cleaning up his brother's mess as he met up with a bruised and battered Matipa, giving her some money to get by as she expressed her regret for choosing the wrong brother. He then went to Essie's place where he gifted Sarah a new laptop. However, while helping her to set it up, she tried to make a move on her uncle, who rejected her and reported her to Essie. I wasn't even sure if I should include that in the recap because it was a bit cringe. Sarah has really been a wild card this season. Essie then decided to take Sarah to a spiritual advisor, who revealed that her father doesn't care about her, insisting that she would never get an apology from him. Matipa then paid Joyce a visit with the twins, where she noticed her injuries, showing her that Jonasi had assaulted her as well. Matipa then asked to leave the twins with Joyce for a few hours, before Joyce reached out to Magesh, showing him her injuries and asking him to help protect her from Jonasi. Upon arriving at home, Jonasi found Joyce and Magesh with his bags packed, essentially evicting him from his house. He tried to resist, but Magesh manhandled him and locked him out of the house while Joyce watched on. Jonasi then took his bags and made his way to Essie's place, where he found her with another man. He confronted the couple, even trying to hit Essie before the man she was with threatened Jonasi with a weapon, forcing him to leave. I think this speaks to what Freedom was saying earlier, about how Essie prioritizes men over her children. Back at the Gomora home, Joyce tried but failed to reach Matipa before the helper Ntombi found a note in the twins' baby bag. In the letter addressed to Joyce, Matipa revealed that she had abandoned her children and left town to rebuild her life, asking Joyce to take care of her children as we see her drive away. Joyce's helper has seen a lot working for this family, and I loved her reaction to the letter when she found out that Matipa abandoned her children. However, I didn't like the scene where Matipa threw the ring out of the window because the show had established that she was broke and needed money. So it didn't make sense that she threw away something of value that she could have sold for money. Episode 19 picks up at Matipa's place, where Joyce and her son arrived to collect some of the twins' belongings. However, they found Jonasi and Lindani shacking up there. Jonasi apologized to Joyce on Matipa's behalf for leaving the twins in her care. But after Joyce left, Jonasi revealed his vengeful side, promising to make Joyce, Magesh, Matipa, and Essie pay. After Lindani left to go shopping, a woman arrived looking for Matipa, but upon finding out that she wasn't there, Jonasi invited her into the house where the two started flirting before hooking up. Meanwhile at J&J, Magesh was denied access into the building as it was revealed that he had been fired. He then went to the Gomora home where he informed Joyce that Jonasi had cut him off. Joyce suggested that he fight it, but Magesh revealed that he was relieved and now free to do whatever he wanted to do. A few weeks later, as Jonasi and Lindani were celebrating their 3-month anniversary, it was revealed that Jonasi was suffering from a cough that refused to go away. He eventually got himself tested, and the doctor revealed that he had tested positive for HIV. However, Jonasi was still in denial as he questioned the doctor's credentials. We then jump forward 2 years, where Jonasi isn't looking so good. Him and Lindani are fighting, and he refuses to take his medication, unlike Lindani, who it appears has also been infected. Jonasi met up with his brother and begged him to return to J&J to help him run it in his absence, revealing that his health was affecting his business. My guest then informed Ellie about Jonasi's condition, and she paid him a visit, bringing him some food and begging him to move in with her. But Jonasi's pride got the better of him. He refused to move back to the township. As she left, Essie and Lindani had a confrontation, with Essie accusing her of only sticking around for the money. At the Gomora home, my guest arrived to report that Jonasi had been hospitalized. Joyce then offered to let Jonasi stay with them so she could help nurse him back to health, but only on the condition that he stopped sleeping around and lying. However, when Joyce, my guest, and Essie arrived to pick him up, Jonasi was not in his hospital bed. The episode ends with the doctor revealing to a visibly disappointed Joyce that Jonasi had been discharged and went home with Lindani. Episode 20 picks up on the day of Joyce's book launch and graduation. At J&J, Menzi had become reckless as his uncle confronted him for partying with company funds. Preparations for Joyce's book launch continued, with Mpume arriving at the venue for a Gomora family reunion, revealing that she was now a psychologist. Sarah tried to apologize for seducing Mpume's boyfriend early in the season, but Mpume rejected her apology, which I think was a bit harsh. The book launch commenced, and just as Joyce was finishing up her speech, Lindani and Jonasi crashed the party. Lindani announced that she was done taking care of Jonasi, who was in a wheelchair, as she left him in the care of his first wife. That evening, it was revealed that Joyce was dating someone, which she rubbed in Jonasi's face. He told Joyce to call Lindani so she could come get him. Despite Joyce telling him that she wouldn't come, he insisted. Joyce called Lindani at least twice, but she didn't answer. She then ridiculed Jonasi and reminded him that he had his chance to come and stay with her when he was discharged from the hospital, but chose to go with Lindani. The episode ends with Joyce walking away after she pushed the pathetic Jonasi out of his wheelchair. Episode 21 picks up at Matipa's place, when Pume had been sent to collect some of her father's belongings. Lindani found her there, and a confrontation ensued after Lindani revealed that the house was now under her name, which led to Mpume beating her up. She returned home and reported to her mother and brother what Lindani had revealed about Jonasi giving her the house. Joyce and Menzi were visibly concerned, with Menzi, who was reluctant to be around his father, making an effort to help him around the house and spend time with him, even sneaking in some beers for his old man, who admitted that marrying 3 women was the biggest mistake he ever made, as the father and son reconciled. Joyce then refused to let Essie see Jonasi, despite Mpume encouraging her to let Essie see him. The Gomoras then had a family lunch, where Mpume forgave her father, even though he refused to apologize. Joyce then brought out a birthday cake for Jonasi, as they wished him a happy birthday. However, I don't think it was actually his birthday. I think they just celebrated with him early because it was unlikely that he would make it to his real birthday, which I think was super dark. That night, Jonasi finally apologized to Joyce for everything he put her through, revealing that he was afraid to die as Joyce lay with him in bed consoling him. The following morning, Joyce was woken up by commotion in the Gomora home, indicating that Jonasi had passed away. The episode ends with her letting out a cry of relief now that she's free. Episode 22 picks up with Essie preparing Jonasi's body for the funeral. However, it soon revealed that she had planned her own funeral after Joyce arrived at the funeral parlor and was told that Essie had already collected her husband's body. The funeral held by Essie in Soweto was interrupted by Joyce, who arrived with the police just in time to stop the burial. The 2 wives argued before Joyce banned Essie from attending the actual funeral. I really loved this scene. It reminded me of the conflict in that first Mubango episode when Catherine and Doris were fighting over their husband's body. Menzi then consoled Sarah, revealing that Jonasi had asked him to make sure that she was taken care of. I don't think Jonasi actually said that. Menzi just said it to comfort his sister. The real funeral then got underway, with Matipa returning. However, she was completely unrecognizable to the twins as they ignored her. The service commenced as the show came full circle, with Joyce making her grand entrance and telling Jonasi what she really thought about him. Lindani, who was looking for attention, made a scene disrupting the service before my guest kicked her out. Essie and Sarah then arrived and joined other family members in the front row before Mpume took to the stage to deliver her eulogy, acknowledging all her father's wives and children, including Sarah, who she seemed to have forgiven. Then came the big reveal. It was revealed that Joyce was the reason that Jonasi was dead. She hired the girl she met in jail back in the second episode, who had overshared about how she contracted HIV from her cheating boyfriend. Joyce hired her to seduce her husband and infect him with the virus. She's the woman who came to Matipa's old place looking for her, claiming to be a friend, and ended up hooking up with Jonasi. It was also revealed that Menzi was working with his mother, spending time with his father to appease him so that he could change his will and leave everything to Menzi. What a beautiful reveal it was. Back at the funeral service, Menzi, who had stepped outside for some air, bumped into Lindani, and the episode ends with the two hooking up in the bathroom. First of all, I hope he took precautions because Lindani definitely has the virus as well. I mentioned earlier about how he might be on the spectrum, and he did little to convince me otherwise. I believe that the second season will focus on Menzi as he follows in his father's footsteps. You could tell that's what they were setting up. The only thing Menzi really admired about his father was that he bagged 3 wives, and because all the money was left in his name, like father like son, and he already started being reckless, sleeping around and partying on the company's dime. I'm still doing a bit of reading, but I'll expand on our theory in the next video. I think I know what Netflix has planned, so make sure to look out for that one. Alternatively, I think the show would make a great anthology series, similarly to Beef on Netflix. Every season has a different cast or storyline, so a second season would introduce a new polygamous story with different characters. Those were my initial thoughts, but like I said, the show has already hinted strongly that they will continue with Menzi. I genuinely enjoyed this show, and I think it's easily a top 5 Netflix South African series. They really nailed the tone, something that I think Netflix struggled with when they first entered the South African market. I'm actually curious what your favorite Netflix South African shows are, so please let me know in the comment section. I think a lot of credit has to go to Stained Glass Productions for the solid adaptation of Sue Nyathi's work. If I'm not mistaken, they were also responsible for producing The Wife, which was also based on a series of books. I have to say, the South African book adaptations are some of the most well-written shows I've watched. I reviewed Red Ink on the channel, which was another solid adaptation, and what impresses me the most is the dialogue. In The Polygamist, the episodes were flowing mainly because the dialogue was so good. Initially, I questioned the decision to start with a scene from Jonasi's funeral. Because I felt like it kind of spoiled the death. But I'm told that's how it starts in the book, and I have to say that the time jumps and the different perspectives were very well executed. Add all the reveals to that, and I wasn't too concerned knowing about Jonasi's eventual death. Speaking of reveals, I was ready for them to reveal that he was sleeping with the receptionist too. Because at some point, or at least halfway through the show, I started just suspecting most of the females who had appeared. But the receptionist especially was very mysterious. And I saw Menzi checking her out, so maybe they'll give her more to do in the second season. I think she has a lot of potential, especially being one of Jonasi's most trusted people. She knew a whole lot about him. And maybe they will reveal in the second season that they were having an affair or something. You know how they say third time's a charm? I love that subtext when it came to Joyce's attempts to kill Jonasi. First with the gun, then with the poison, before paying it off with the third attempt. Jonasi, our leading man who played his role to perfection. My partner's actually a big fan, so she wasn't gonna let me miss this. I still remember him starting out on Class Act, and I'm just happy to see him getting the recognition that he's worked for. Played by the talented Gugu Gumed. I'm a bit embarrassed because I was not really familiar with her game, but she thoroughly impressed me. She was the connective tissue that pieced the season together. Wife number 2, Essie, played by Celestine Ntuli, who gave an amazing performance and showed a lot of growth as an actor. I know Celeste as a comedian, so I never would have thought that she had this kind of range. I don't know if it's because I'm just used to her being a comedian, or she just hasn't been getting the dramatic roles and been given the opportunity to showcase her dramatic side, because this was extremely good. It was really good, and I would say it was like the most surprising performance here, alongside veteran actor Kenneth Nkosi, who similarly is often used as comedic relief, delivered a stunning dramatic performance. So I don't know if it's the same situation with Celeste, that he doesn't usually get the opportunity to like show off his dramatic chops. I was super impressed. I wouldn't mind seeing him play more roles like this. Wife number 3, Gwandem Tetwa. I've been a fan since I saw her on Redemption, and I think she showed a lot of growth. Definitely one of her best performances. The character of Matipa, however, I feel was a bit conflicted. she wasn't really a good person, but they tried to redeem her character. That's how I feel. She pursued Jonasi in the beginning while she was dating the brother. She has a mean streak, like she's a villain, and the way she was like behaving when she started dating Jonasi, disrespecting Joyce. Like I mentioned earlier, there were also parts where I felt she was being manipulative towards Joyce, and it wasn't really acknowledged. So I'm not sure if we're supposed to see her as a good person. I don't know why the show did this, but towards the end, they talk about the fact that if they divorce, it's a 50-50 split, right, between Joyce and Jonasi. So I think that should have played a bigger role in this season, because a lot of things wouldn't really happen if there's that hanging above their heads. So I think they should have worked that sooner instead of raising it now closer to the end where it wasn't really relevant. Freedom, played by Vuyo Biela, gave a great performance and stole every scene he was in. He's really been doing well lately and getting some good roles, including one as Dingani, Shaga's brother on Shaga Ilembe. My least favorite character was Sarah, but only because she wasn't given enough screen time but had too much impact on the events of the show. However, it did look like they were setting her up to have a bigger role in season 2. Finally, the directors, who delivered 22 episodes of quality visuals, soundtracks, and performances. We appreciate your hard work. And the main reason I don't usually review Netflix shows is because they drop all the episodes at once, which makes it harder to get through and to review. I even picked up the book, so expect at least one more video on The Polygamist. I know I haven't really been active this year, but I promise I'll try and make up for it the rest of the year. I'd love to read your reviews of The Polygamist, so please make sure you leave them in the comments. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is ASR for the love of African filmmaking and storytelling.
Hello, bafowethu, uSitoma Mtshali lo. What to expect from The Polygamist? I think you're going to expect something unique, something fresh, something new. And of course, it's an African story that we all know. It's a universal story. So expect a fast-paced production that it's clean and it's cut well and it's shot well. It's shot by Fahima, one of my favorite DOPs, directed by 3 of my favorite directors in this country, Kim Matoso, Ntabi, and Hole. And they're doing magic in the show. And to work with people like them that give you that freedom to play, you're gonna enjoy it just as we enjoyed doing it. So yeah, please, man.